Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. When I speak of that, ladies and gentlemen, I think about myself. I think about me being on this earth and what being on this earth really means to me, what the ideal representation for me, what it really means, what would make it, this life, actually a satisfying life. And when I think of that, I come up with a reality of that. And the second thought I have is all of you. What kind of life, if since I got this kind of life that I just imagined, what kind of life would I imagine that you would have? And the thing that come to me immediately is that you would have access to all of the choices that anybody would have, and that you would make those choices as they would satisfy you, as they would allow you to say this is a satisfying life. And my hope is that in so doing this, it would eliminate pain and suffering across the board. I see it not happening. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I must be honest and say to you that living as long as I have, I've heard many stories. And some I've tried to adopt and some I haven't. But I really want you to know this before I go any further. When we talk about God, the biblical stuff, I really don't know any truth of that. What do I mean is it has been said that this happened. It was talked about. It was somehow written, and that it has been passed down. And that's the way we do things. So it's not very complicated for me to believe that that could have possibly happened. It could have been, what we do began somewhere. So if it could happen, began here, it could have begun back there. And so I'd just like for you to know, when I talk about stuff like that, I'm talking about the good parts that I've heard that ties in with this vision that I have. But one thing that's strong, that I have no question about, no doubt about, is that there is a God. Now, when I say God, I'm talking about a power that is beyond all power that I know, beyond all power that I understand. And I call that power God. That power, to me, does what I can't do, what you can't do, none of us can do. And that power is able to do wonderful things, good things, loving things that would fit right in with my vision of this wonderful, satisfying life. And so for you as well. This life, I've been here for a while, as I've indicated. And I want you to know that based upon what I just got through saying about myself, and having lived here, I recognize that what I wished, what I hoped for, what I envisioned was not going to just happen. It was not going to just happen, because that's my vision. Others might have it, but at the same time, it doesn't just appear all the time. Some parts of it appears sometimes, and we call it miracles. And it is miracles that is, to us, evidence of the existence of God. Not all of us, but just to some of us. I recognize that my life, my living has shown me that we are taught differently. We are taught in such a way that the conditions that we experience every day in life exist. And we don't want them to exist, we say, but they continue to exist because we don't change our way. And we don't change our way because we think that we are right and everybody else is wrong. And since everybody else who we think are wrong think that they are right, then we are caught in the wrong side. And so we are unable to fix anything. The reason we are unable to fix anything is because we're only caring about ourselves and no one else. I had said that this video would be the last time I talk to you guys. And the reason that I said that is because out of all the things that people have done, people have given their lives, people have died, people have done all kinds of things, trying to bring about the kind of life that I hope for me, and hopefully you hope for yourselves. But they don't have that type of understanding. The world, the people of the world don't have that type of understanding, so we have a continuation of this. Now for me, I know, as I said a moment ago, that God exists because of the miracles. And I'm willing to do what God has given me to do because I know it's God, that there is a God. When I see you or the rest of the people out here who are doing what they do and it doesn't line up with any of the stuff I say it is because of your understanding of God, and that indication when there's pain and suffering, that your understanding of God is about a God of love, about a God, because you can stop that. And so, knowing that we don't know the truth, and we're trying all of these kinds of things, those men who gave their lives, who were murdered, who were assassinated, because they understood life to be a certain kind of way, and they wanted to share that with us. And so that touched me in a way that says it's different than the average Joe Blow. The average Joe Blow get caught up in this stuff and just go along with it, become a part of it. These didn't. So that was saying to me, why would I? So why don't I do like they? Because they did have an impact. And so me being the evidence of the impact, that I should do likewise. And so I made up my mind that I wanted to be an instrument for the God that I know. The God that I know who performed the miracle for me was indicating to me that now I am qualified to go before the people in the name of that power and do what that power has done for me. You know, be an outreach of that power to tell you the truth that will set you free, that will liberate you as this is liberating me. And it means so much to me that I know how people are. Those guys who died, sacrificed their lives, I decided that my sacrifice would be that I would kind of restrain or restrict this wonderful life for me until you could enjoy that same life. What that basically means, we live in a world that says if you put your mind to it, you can do this and you can do that. There are a lot of people that have achieved a lot of resources and wealth or whatever you want to call it because they committed themselves to that. But at the same time, what they don't understand that I see is that the things that they have engaged themselves in is tied into the stuff that causes so much pain and suffering to other people. As they are gathering and enjoying themselves, other people are hurting and going wacko. So that's allowed me to say I won't engage in that kind of stuff. And just to be honest with you, to hopefully get you to see that I'm not jiving, that I'm serious. I'm not like the guy who's just trying to do you and get you and use you. Then next thing you know, like the prosperity preacher. Next thing you know, they got all the wealth and you sitting there wondering when your ship coming in. So I didn't want to do that. So I sacrificed myself. But not only did I sacrifice myself, I sacrificed my family. I said that if I could go through it to prove a point, to exercise a love for God, then my family, I choose my family in the name of that same power to go through what I have to go through as an expression of God's love for you through us. And that allows me to sit before you today without teeth. It allows me to sit here before you today with many of my kids that I've never been able to do anything for, buy a diaper or a can of milk, to be more in love with Donald Trump than with me. It's a sacrifice that I made, and that sacrifice causes me all of that comes back at me, and anything that you might say after hearing me give you this testimony about me. But at the same time, I want you to know that that is my choice. That is my choice, perhaps influenced by my upbringing. But at the same time, those who, for instance, are not interested in anything I've just said, who have been taught that you do put your hand to the plow and you do whatever you have to do to get ahead. I heard one man say that life is like being at a car race, what they call that stuff, and everybody get into their car. And when the thing says go, that's where life is telling you to go. And you got to go through life, how many times on a circle, but the one who finishes with all of the trophies, that's the guy who's shining. And there are those who never could even seemingly get around the track, mean nothing. And so they would look at life like doing it like that. But what happens when you do it like that? When you come around the track, nobody else got anything, but you got all of the trophies. Do you want to take what you have gathered or what you have gained and make sure that those who made a part of that game fun for you share in your rewards? Or are you willing to take yours and set it aside and call yourself king? And everybody else got to subject and submit themselves to you in order to get perhaps anything that they require that you got control of. That's the kind of world we live in today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I can't be able to stop you. I can't do any more than to deliver a message that I've been given to tell you. And I want to tell you this. If there was one person on earth, one person woke up one day, one person woke up one day and nobody else is on earth. That person, in order to survive, would have to do something. That person would have to, first of all, eat. So that person's going to have to do something to find how do you fix that problem. That person is going to require shelter from the elements day and night and whatever. But it's not going to rain out of the sky. That person is going to have to do something. That person is going to have to do these things a couple of times because it only got him through a day. But what he learned the first day would make the second day easier. And when he goes through that for a week, then that next week, it's easy to do repetition of what you have done to get your food, to prepare for your shelter. Now what you got your food, you got your shelter, and you got education. Necessary. So far you found that that's all you need. But then a little bit later on you find that you might need you get hurt. So you need some care, some health care. You might not call it health care at the time, but you know what you need. And so you go through whatever you have to go through. Trials and errors and until you fix that problem. And having fixed that problem, you add it to your tool of education. Now you have mastered food and shelter and education and health care. How to deal with infrastructure. You know, that's something that might not come to you right away, but it might. And that means you basically need some order to be going backwards and forth, doing the things that you have to do and lining stuff up so you know where the stuff is that you got to access, the resources. So you got it all set up just right. You know, you got your infrastructure set up to accommodate you. Now, if that is required for one person, some families got 21 children, mother and a father, 23. And the same thing that is required for that one person is now required of that 23, giving an understanding that babies don't do any work, which means that whoever is responsible, who's responsible, whoever big enough to get engaged in the process. This, my friends, is absolutely necessary. Now, what works for that one is required of the 23. And what is required for that 23 is required of 330 million. And what is required for 330 million is required for 8 billion. 8 billion people on this earth. 8 billion people owe it to themselves, not just to one another, but owe it to themselves to survive the day. To survive the day means you got to engage yourself in the pursuit of that which is essential for your survival. You got to do it. But just like that one person had to do everything, now that you got 21 or 23, you don't have to do everything. You can break it up with a couple of people can join in on this or that, as you are limited in the number of things that you got to do. And when you got 300 million and all of these people engaging in the process, and now let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, that I was given to tell you that makes this so uniquely beautiful. Many of us who live today, who provide for ourselves and our families, we find ourselves sometimes having to do whatever is available and just in order to get what we need. But the message that I was given to tell you is not that you just have to engage yourself in those things that are essential for your survival, even though they are. What it says also is this: especially since the number allows you to have choice. That it is your duty, your responsibility to choose your job, to choose your career, to choose your participation in life that gives it itself, gives you your greatest joy. Whatever it is, whatever career whatever job, it gives you your greatest joy. There's no greater joy. You couldn't switch that for anything else that would give you more joy. And by this being your joy, that's your gas, that's your energy to provide daily for, not only now is it for yourself, but it's for everybody else. Everybody else is doing at the same time that they're doing for themselves, they're doing for everybody else as well. Got a scratchy throat here, excuse me. They're doing for everybody else. Now, you have engaged yourself in life, choosing that which gives you your greatest joy, and exercising it every day, having that greatest joy. And as you do that, you are engaged in a process of creating all of the food, all of the shelter, all of the education, all of the health care, all of the infrastructure, all of the transportation, all of anything that's done by the hands of men. You, the people, whether it's one or whether it's 330 million or whether it's 8 billion, it is you that have created the resources of the earth that keeps men and women and human beings experiencing a satisfied life. It's that. That's the message that I was given to say, that it takes away lying, it eliminates cheating, it eliminates stealing, it eliminates hatred and racism and bigotry, it eliminates war. And all of that stuff which is eliminated by doing the right things is happening all around us every day. And it's nothing that they're telling us in church about the God in the Bible that's causing us to be any different. In fact, many of us are on that bandwagon, causing the pain, causing the suffering because we see so blindly. That's the way it is. But I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, every last one of you who heard what I just said, you know it's true. You know it's absolutely true. You can do anything. Go anywhere because it's freedom. This, my friends, not only provide for your satisfying life, it offers you peace and it offers you prosperity and freedom. It offers you joy and happiness. And it offers you the opportunity to not only dream about something, but to live the dream. Now, here I am telling you this, and Clear Choice hasn't given me, said, well, you deserve some teeth. Since you don't have any, come over here and we're going to show you some love. Oh, I had a judge that say that to me once. Let me just add this in there just for a little. Poor people, when you go down, if you live in a big city and you go downtown, if you're driving a car, you got to put some money in the parking meter. And if you don't have money to put in the parking meter, you don't park, or you walk, or you take a chance. And so sometimes people big-headed like me would take a chance. And I ended up had about $400 and some worth of tickets, parking tickets, that I just not going to pay. And my reason was, it was discriminatory. People who got money can come downtown, park their car, put the quarter in or whatever, however much they had to put in, and stay downtown all day if they wanted to. But a person like me had to be restricted because I'm restricted of the resources. And living in a system that says it's okay for you to be restricted. That's because as you are restricted, then the door is open for someone else. So my protest was I wasn't going to pay, and I was going to court, and I was going to argue that case. Well, I went in, the judge was ahead of me. When I gave him what I just shared with you, he said, well, Brother Marcus, we're going to show you something different. I'm throwing your case out. I said right there, first of all, I wanted to thank God. Did. But I'm thinking about the other people that were there, probably for some of the same kinds of things that I was there for. And I told the judge that that wasn't sufficient enough. He had to do it for everybody. So the judge told me told me to take my blessing and be thankful. I went over back in the court and sat down, protesting, go sit there and observe until something spiritually told me, get my butt up and get out of there. There was nothing I could do for those people. Only thing I could do is show some disgrace for the judge, make myself look ungrateful, and who would care? And so I got up and got myself out of there. But I've kept on keeping on. They're trying to choose and ask God for guidance of those things that will work. So look, the thing that will work is the message that I gave you. It is the message. So all the other talking is a waste of time, hot air. If you want to know the story about the Civil War, you can go through your history books and it'll tell you a certain amount of information that period of time didn't mind you hearing today. Anything they didn't want you to hear, they didn't put in there. And even when it comes to the scriptures and you talk about people who lived back in those days, they had people just like the ones who were living during the Civil War. They are people who were living like during the Revolutionary War. They were people who were living a life. And if they had a story, it's just like the story of the Revolutionary War or the Civil War. It's just a story that happened. And some of the same things that worked and benefit right, what is right, it worked in all of the eras. But to say that one man did something right this time, one man did something right this time, and one man did something right this time is enough to get you to do right all the time, it's not going to happen. It hasn't happened. So the message that I bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, is as far as you are concerned, it's not about the other person getting right. It's about you getting right. It's about you. Now, what does it take to get right? Let me tell you this. I do not have the slightest idea of what it takes to get right. All I know is that I threw my life away as if it didn't mean a thing. That wasn't my intent. I was just dumb, ignorant, and stupid. And as I was throwing my life away, this God that is invisible, it is only known by the evidence. exercise some power right there and enable me to stay right here today and tell you this. After I found out what situation I was delivered from, I am grateful and I respect that. And so I sit here and share with you to tell you that Republicans don't have the answer to the problems of life. I don't care what kind of lies they tell you. Democrats don't have the answers to life. I don't care what kind of lies they tell you. White people, black people, men, women don't have the answer to life. I don't care what kind of lies they tell you. The answer to life is with God. And God is a spiritual power. Making it possible for every last one of us to engage with that power, that spiritual power. It is a relationship that you must have, that I must have with God. And if we all have it, hey bro, then we will do as in heaven right here. Now, what I have just told you doesn't mean a thing to most of you. Most of you will laugh at what I've just said. And you will go and engage yourself in a situation that will lead you straight down to the worst thing that you could ever get yourself in. And maybe then you will reach out. But will you be too late? I don't know. I don't know. But I can say this to you. You've heard it said that God will forgive you, that Jesus died on the cross so that you might be forgiven if you change. But most people don't know what that means. They don't know what change means. No, they don't know what change means. They think change means to say, oh God, I believe Jesus Christ. But you go right on. And you think that because you heard that grace has been extended to all who recognize, now you can walk back into heaven. That's almost saying like, there's no difference between earth and heaven. All the bull that goes on right here goes on in heaven. It has to, if you go take that bull that you didn't stop and go to heaven. So I'm not going to argue about whether you get to heaven or not. I don't know. All I can tell you about is living here on this earth. If you can do it, just doing it, even if you were still a crook, if you did it, you still would get the benefit of being righteous. If you did it. So I guess if there's anything else for me to benefit out of this, it must be coming from God. Because I've done this for over 40 years. 40 years I've gone through this kind of lifestyle, hoping that it would mean something for all of us, that it would mean something good and wonderful for all of us. And if it has, it's a secret from me. But I just want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, there's a God, and it's simple to live on this earth. We have ourselves thinking people who got money is it. See, here's the secret. God's plan is that you get liberty, freedom, and all that kind of stuff by knowing the truth and exercising that which you know. You remember the first day you had to do everything. After the end of a week, it was easy to do. Then you had 21 kids, and it was so much easier to do now because even though you needed more, you had more workers who were loving it, and so there was no problem. For the 300 million and the 8 billion, everything worked out just fine. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. But for some strange reason, it didn't happen that way. It happened a different way. I will tell you this. It happened a different way. We're living in pure sin right now. Every last one of us are sinners. Yep. If you're living in the world today, you are a sinner. Even when you're praying to God and doing whatever you do religiously, you are still a sinner. And you will be a sinner until you leave this world out of sin. Leave this world out of sin. What that basically means, out of sin. It means that you're doing everything right now as you live to get that sin off of you. And when you pass out of here, it's because you're trying to get that sin, you're working to get that sin off of you. And you got out of here because you were getting that sin out of you. Then you're free. Until then, or until we can make heaven on earth, we're just sinners. Pure D sinners. I'll talk to you later.